Okay. All right, folks. Good evening. Going to open this meeting of the Ashburnham Conservation Commission for February 14th, 2022, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, rules and regs, and the Ashburnham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, rules and regs. Remember, it's Valentine's Day, so, love abounds. Everybody be nice, as if we wouldn't be anyway. So before we get started, I just want to say that I got an email from Paul Grasowitz, who's the engineer for 471 Winchendon Road. They still don't have a file number for that, so he's requested an extension, which, I don't see any issues there with. I mean, again, it's just we can't issue a permit until we have a file number. So, any discussion or?
Fine with me.
Okay, then I'm just gonna make a motion to continue the public hearing 471 Winchendon Road until February 28th.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Marshall Dennis, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Anna
Chris
O'Connor,
Piconi,
aye.
aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
Daddy, can you lift it up so I can?
Okay, very good. Appreciate it.
And Marshall, one thing I noted about that, the PDF, it didn't seem like you could see where the wetlands were on the map. I don't know if their original had that, but
For 471?
Hilltop Road.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that's the next order of business, so,
We weren't doing that. Oh, I thought we were talking about that in a while.
No,
So
no.
never mind. You're talking about the one. Yeah, okay.
we were just continuing 471 Winchendon.
I didn't see that on the agenda for some reason.
No, it wasn't on the agenda.
Okay.
And hang on just a minute. Okay, yeah. Apologize. No, that was not on the agenda. It was something that Paul Grasowitz brought to my attention today.
Yeah, that's why it's not on the agenda.
That and truth be told, so all right. So we have approved that continuation till February 28th. So next on the agenda is which I will now open as a public hearing for 12 Hilltop Road. Proposed actions include the construction of a driveway and installation of subsurface sewage disposal systems, portions of which are located within the buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands. So someone is here to represent 12 Hilltop?
Yes, it's Mark Popham, the
Mark,
engineer for Platinum Development.
Yeah, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Alrighty. So the plan is before us, as you can see, so take it away and just give us an overview.
Sure. In answer to that question, the wetlands are a little bit cut off on your PDF presentation there. You can just see down in the lower right-hand corner, one of the two wetland flags, W1. Right there.
Okay, there they are. Okay.
And W2 is just north or up the sheet from that, off the edge of that, a little further from the edge of the roadway. So actually the closest flag is that W1, just as a point of reference. So what we have is the parcel is on the other side of the road. But I did identify a wet area down at the base of the slope on the other side of the road. And that's where the 100-foot buffer does come into play on this parcel. And you have a driveway coming off of Hilltop Drive without much grade change. By coming off the roadway where it is, it essentially comes into that higher part of the parcel straight in. So there's really not much grading within the buffer zone. And just a little bit of the septic system slope fill is within the buffer zone. So in total, it's about 800 square feet of disturbance, and all of it well beyond 50 feet. I do have a silt fence shown on the plan as a SF line at the toe of slope, and then coming down along the lower edge of the driveway out to the edge of the roadway. And that actually comes to the point, that portion of the roadway is already paved. So there shouldn't be any disturbance of the roadway itself in doing the new driveway. There is a lower portion of the driveway toward the property corner, which is the benchmark down at the lower portion of the site. And I wanted to stay away from the site design and coming in that way so that we weren't tracking all over that gravel road surface in that area closer to the wetland on the other side. So the house, pretty much most of the clearing, the actual full septic system and most of the fill associated with it are beyond the buffer zone.
Yeah, I must admit, I had to get the drawing out and, take a yellow highlighter and, highlight the wetland boundary versus the buffer and so forth to make it a little more clear. But, as you just stated that, the vast majority of the work is outside the buffer zone. And the wetland is across the street. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So with the installation of the erosion controls, it's highly unlikely that's going to be a problem. Anybody else? Any comments?
I'm just curious, it says existing in the lower right corner, it says existing gravel road and then Hilltop. Is Hilltop Road that existing, is that part of Hilltop Road, or where's Hilltop Road on this, if it's not?
Yeah, this, if you see where I've got it called out, existing gravel road, that portion, that lower in grade portion of the roadway in front of the lot is gravel. And then you'll see I've got above that, and you can't really see it on your presentation of it, but on the plans, as you go up toward that W2 wetland flag, there is a leader to that portion of the roadway, and it calls it out as an existing bituminous concrete roadway. So the paved section ends in front of this lot, and then it becomes gravel. And that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Having the driveway come in with a surface to the roadway, which is, there is a little bit of a steepness to the road in that area. So it is, it is now paved. So it's better to come off with the new driveway and minimize the disturbance off the paved area.
And just for the minutes, can I get your last name? It was Mark Platinum?
Popham, Popham.
Oh. Thanks.
The property owner is Platinum Development.
Okay.
Let me ask, if I may, a question that has really no bearing on our consideration, but are all these notations really handwritten?
Yes, sir. all my plans are handcrafted. I have no one to blame for anything but myself.
You know, have we not advanced to the point of whatever?
This is how I do it. So
Okay, all right, yeah, yeah. I just had to ask, sorry.
no problem.
All right, anybody, any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, again, this is a, this is a, again, a request for determination of applicability, so, barring any other comments, I'll make a motion to approve.
Sorry, Marshall, the minutes say that this is an NOI?
Yeah, and that was wrong.
Oh, okay, the agenda is for an RDA.
No,
Okay.
thank you for noticing that. I was, hate to admit it, but I was incorrect. Yeah, I hate the W word. So it was an RDA and not a notice of intent. So having acknowledged that, I'll make a motion to approve the RDA and issue a determination of applicability, approving the project per plan and discussion.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye. Marshall Dennis, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Chris Bocconi, aye.
Anna O'Connor, aye.
Andrew Henderson, I.
Catherine
Yeah.
Laramie, aye.
We got everybody? Awesome.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Stay safe.
Okay, we'll get the approval to you as soon as we can.
All right. Take care.
Okay, you too. All right. Next up, we open the public hearing for 38 Lower Lake Road, filed by, and this is a real notice of intent, filed by Al Boehner for dock extension and lakefront bank stabilization, which has been duly advertised. And so Al, I see you're here.
Yes.
Take it
Good
away.
evening.
You know, we'll go from here.
All right. So pretty much everything remained the same on this proposal as what I had run by you folks earlier. Still looking to extend the dock out 24 feet and then going across the front about the same. So all the images pretty much stayed the same. The thing I did add is, I'd like to, again, at least under the dock area, depends on how the other goes, at least to stabilize the bank shore under the current dock, in a similar fashion. So that's number 8 on my proposal list. Everything else is pretty much the same as it was when we met 2 weeks ago. Just cleaned up just clean the slide deck up a little bit. That was about it.
All right, maybe, I don't know, Kristen, can you just, just keep going. One more. Yeah, there you go. Just stop right there. I mean, that essentially is the dock proposal, with, appears, consistent with the neighboring docks. So I don't know if anybody anybody has any comments one way or the other. You know, I did happen to look at some way back photographs of the dock at this site that a previous owner had. And, you know, other than the L shaped, it's pretty much the same.
Okay,
And again, the L is because you wanted to have the pontoon boat kind of parallel to the L.
yes, want the pontoon boat parallel to L, and then my a smaller boat would go to the south side of the L, an 18-foot ski boat, and then I have 2 jet skis that I would be able to tuck on the inside of the L.
The giraffe for which is pretty shallow.
Those are only exactly less than a foot.
Yeah.
So, you know, walk them in, walk them out, and that'll be
Right. Okay. All right. I personally have no, you know, adverse comment relative to the dock.
okay.
I thought it looked fine, and I remember talking about it being a removable dock, but I didn't see that in the.
Yep, I probably did not work removable. You're absolutely correct. You did not see it. I did have a couple pictures showing the type of docks I'll be installing. Does it say removable in those images? Right there. So I'm not sure if that says anywhere near, does it say removable? Removable. Those are 2 manufacturers I'm looking at. I don't, yeah, it doesn't say removable. It will be removable, because again, I don't want them getting damaged by any, if they don't lower the pond, of some reason the lake refills after it's been lowered, I don't want any damage to the structures, so they would be removable at the end of the season. There's some way I can presentation or note, just, you know, just the dot I's and cross T's, with you folks, so you know what you're approving.
So the bottom line is it is removable
Yes,
and will be.
yes, it will.
Yeah, and I put it in the minutes for what it's worth.
Perfect.
All right. Any more discussion regarding the dock before we move on to the second part of the application, which is the bank stabilization? Again, I have no qualms relative to the dock.
Okay.
Okay. In that
All right.
case,
So as far as the shoreline protection and stabilization, I went up there again, looked at what I had and what was going on there. And I basically, again, went for the full presentation that I had last time. Looking what's there, anything that has any substantial growth on it is on a very steep embankment that's getting undercut by the wave motion. I looked at the neighboring property, and with the ones that had the few stones along the shoreline, and they have about 4 more feet of property that I don't have. Basically, so over the years, by not having those few stones there, it has cut in about 4 feet into my property on there, and I'm just trying to stabilize what's there. I'm not looking to, you know, regain the 4 feet. I'm just looking to, you know, maintain what's there, maintain the old growth of those, some of the, you know, the vegetation that's there, as opposed to, you know, it just falling into the lake, which in one area it has already, where there is no vegetation any longer. Trying to be proactive here. before it becomes a bigger problem or before I have a big, large beach across my property. The people on one side may have a wall, the other people on the other side may have a beach. I'm trying to basically maintain a natural habitat along my shoreline. If I say natural, it is going to, degrade into a beach. Once those bushes, whether 2 years, 5 years from now, they are going to go underwater. They are going to fall in. So, I'm a homeowner here. I'm willing to, put some time, whether I got to put some core logs there first, which is, natural, just basically sticks and vegetation, to hold it up and either stake it in place and stones to hold it in place. I'm willing to do that and want to do that. So that's my proposal. It's really to maintain growth that's in, as you can see right there, on the horizontal level land, there's very little vegetation there, and all the heavy growth is really on that steep embankment, which is undercut. So sooner or later, all those, old growth, I'll call it old growth because, just so the diameter of in the roots that are in the water there, that's in that lower picture, the root system, lake, I'm gonna lose that. And I'm just trying to maintain that, simply by the neighbor who has those few stones there. He saved his property about 4 feet that my property has got eaten away just by the lake motion over the years. If I can go in there and put a core log, up against that bank, stake it in, and then put some rocks similar to what they have just to hold it in place, and then let the root system reestablish itself into something more than just, the lake just eating away on the soil around it. And I think if you go down, I got a backup slide that, so, there's, right there, you can see area 2 basically fell, that area there is kind of just fell in already. So, 4, right at the corner of the dock, that's starting to fall in. There's nothing holding that 2-foot embankment up. It's collapsing. So, area 3 it's old growth in that area, and area 1 is one that has some of the older growth that's on that very steep area. So I guess it's conservation's call as to, do you want me to touch the lake or not touch the lake?
Kristen, can you just scan down? There you go. Thank you.
Since we're on this picture, I actually thought the idea of hand placing rocks seemed reasonable. If anything, it might reduce erosion into the water. I'm a fan of that. I was just a little wondering what kinds of plants are in these choir logs or core logs. I'm not familiar. We don't want some invasive thing, being introduced. So do they come like pre-seeded with something or?
No, they don't. No, it's pretty much just it's just biodegradable material.
So it's like just sticks and straw.
It's pretty much sticks and straws.
Okay.
It's wrapped up in a burlap, and they come anywhere 8, 10, 12 inch diameter, very much like a straw wattle.
Okay.
Type presentation, and it would just be laid out. Especially if there's like an undercut, I can tuck that right underneath it and give it some support, and then hand place in front of it. I can, like here they use wooden stakes, and then they place some stones in front of it just to get And then, gives an area for anything running down the hill, would get caught up in this log and this bio log and, reestablish itself.
Okay.
Um,
I had a question, and I filed everything with the DEP. That was just for, how does the process typically work? Do they just, the filing was done at 2 locations? Your committee is the, oversees this here, and they're just been notified of what's going on? Is that,
you said you filed all this with DEP, Central Regional Office?
yes, I did.
All right, so, I'm assuming that they haven't issued a file number yet.
Okay.
It took them 3 months to issue a file number for Cushing Academy. And, per the first issue we dealt with tonight, it's been a few weeks, and they haven't issued a file number for another, single family house.
Okay.
In town. So I don't know what their issue is, but we can't close the hearing, and because we're obligated to issue once we close the hearing, we're obligated to issue an order within 21 days. And of course we can't if there's no file number.
Okay.
So, we're kind of, stifled in that respect. So otherwise we'll be in violation. So,
Right. All right. No, like I said, I just not fully 100%.
so, I mean,
process. So.
we're not going to, and we will express our sentiments and probably continue the hearing only because we don't have a file number. Once we have a file number, we can, finalize the decision and, go from there.
Okay.
But, again, we're not in control, so to speak.
Marshall,
Yes.
I know that Al had mentioned in our previous meeting that he wanted to kind of get some confirmation on the dock pieces to get those ordered. Is there any confirmation we could give him to say, yeah, we're okay with the dock portion of this, or because they're both in the same NOI that we're stuck still?
Yeah, no, we are kind of stuck.
Okay.
No, I hear you. Certificates of compliance, you can do partials, but not with orders. We're this was the package, and you either approve it or you don't approve it. It can't be part A, part B. So,
I
anyway,
didn't realize that. Had I known that, I would have filed it as 2 separate.
well, but then you would have had to pay twice. So, it's really not worth it, at least in my opinion. But, I think we're all, I haven't heard anything to the contrary regarding the docks. So I'm assuming that that's, ultimately going to be a go. As for the bank stabilization, I'm gonna, I promised myself I wouldn't, get carried away here, but I really think, my personal opinion is that what's proposed is overkill. The most I personally would go for would be the staking of a choir log, whether it's, I don't think it needs to have vegetation in it. If it's undercut by 18 inches, whatever, you stuff the choir log underneath, stake it in underneath the existing vegetation, and you let it stay there. I personally do not favor the placement of stones, rocks, whatever, slabs, whatever, because the choir logs are biodegradable, and they may even serve for the growth of vegetation naturally, whether or not you plant something in them or not. So that is as far as I personally would be willing to go. I've looked at, some aerial photographs of that area on, admittedly, Google Earth, whatever. It looks like the place has been stable for the last umpteen years. I don't, there may be some undercutting, which is common throughout Pickle Lake, any lake. And it's not like the entire site's going to wash away in the next 10 years. So, or 20 or 30 or 50. It's been that way for, God knows how long. So I just don't see the rationale or the need or the forthcoming or impending doom for this property. And I just, I'll go with the natural placement of the choir logs, tucked under or adjacent to the existing vegetation, but anything else in terms of hard riprap, albeit natural stone, whatever, that's, I can't vote, I just, I just can't go for it. So anyway, that's my opinion, and I will shut up and, let others voice their opinion. Again, I'm one vote. And, everybody else can have their say. And ultimately, although we can't vote tonight, but ultimately, we'll vote accordingly. So I'll leave it to the rest of you.
I mean, I think I'm inclined to agree with the choir logs. In these areas where we're worried about it kind of falling in, this same company, New England Wetland Plants, they have some seed mixes that you could use for stabilization in addition to the choir logs, which in my experience grow in pretty quickly, especially if they have the extra fertilizer with the choir log there. But yeah, I mean, I sort of have a similar sentiment.
Okay.
And I'm also the dock. I have no issues with.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured the dock would be a little bit easier than trying to stabilize the banks there. But I just wanted to take the opportunity while I'm going for the docks to propose cleaning up and stabilizing the shore there, where it's definitely different than both my neighbors. And I'm just trying to maintain the more natural setting that's there. So.
And I think I had said a couple of weeks ago, I don't really have a problem with some rocks, just because as long as it's not an obnoxiously looking, pile of stone or riprap or something. Obviously, it's not going to be a riprap, but I've used rocks in a situation like this in another state, and yeah. I'm just so maybe I'm biased in that regard. I've got history with rocks, but to help out a family member. So I can understand where a homeowner wants to kind of just has an image of, and I think this would be, in my opinion, this would be consistent with the Wetlands Protection Act, and that we're stabilizing the bank and keeping the silt and things out of the water. That's that's my take on it. I worry about if we're overly restrictive, we may find people tend not to come to the Concom and ask permission for things, and I would rather see people come and ask our advice. So that's my take.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chris. 'Cause I mean, that was originally, probably my side of this, this leaks around here where I live and riprap gets dumped in and,
Yeah.
it's, put in with a backhoe and dropped in and, and I'm looking at something, I did a little more homework on it, looked at, what was natural around the lake. And what my neighbor has is just a few rocks and how effective those few rocks were. That I showed in one of my earlier images there. There was just a few rocks and, over many years, he saved 4 feet of his property just by putting some rocks that were just about, 1 or 2 inches above the high water level and, 6 or 7 inches down in the water. And it saved his property by about 4 feet, over whatever, it could have been 50 years, but it saved his property. I wouldn't have this conversation if this previous owner had done something similar 50 years ago. It would probably be, test of time, and we wouldn't have this conversation right now. Like that's my take is I would, it would be very tastefully done. It would be, hand dropped in, a few rocks here or there to stabilize the core log in there. Besides the staking, it would be continuity between the water and the shoreline still. It wouldn't be an area where it's just going to be a pile of rock 2 feet high going down into the water. My goal at the end of this here is to maintain all that vegetation. So that's expected to come back a year later and see this, wiped out in a pile of rocks here, so.
I guess my question would be, whatever might grow behind the log or on the log, would it have a robust enough root system to create some of the protection that you wanted and just have a few additional rocks to break the wave motion of the water? I don't know what will grow on them and how robust those plants would be.
Yeah, I mean, it does deteriorate, over time. I think they say the lifespan is 2 to 5 years before it, so it just decays and rots away. So preference is it's probably somewhat short term, where the rocks would provide some additional area for anything coming down the hill would get caught up in the log and then behind the rocks and form more of a stabilized bank for that vegetation grow into.
Whatever falls down the hill, it's what's going to replace the log as it rots.
Well, that's just it. It's a short term. If you put some rocks there, then as it rots, it falls in. But you got to have the root system will be there, and you'll have some rocks, placed along the shore that will keep everything maintained and not washed away. The core logs is a 2 to 5 year solution just to keep things from getting any worse.
What's the actual undercut of the embankment right now? I think you're saying it was about 4 feet undercut.
Well, no, it's about 4 feet that's cut into, that's no longer there. If you go up to one of the other slides, it's up to about a foot in some areas. Right now it's full of leaves. If you go up to the slide right there, those areas there, the one on the upper left, that is like undercut in, I would say, 8 to 12 inches. It's actually, there's a pile of leaves in there. If I pull those leaves out, you'd see, you get your hand up and under there.
Yeah. To be honest, I think my concern would be putting the core logs there and then having them seeded. I think almost look like an alder or a tall blueberry bush that would shade out whatever might try to grow. You get sediment in there that would stabilize. I'm almost wondering if it's possible to do a combination of the core logs with some place rock to stabilize the bank, and then also bring that core log out maybe a little bit to give it a little bit more sunlight for vegetation to actually take hold. I don't know if that's an option to kind of do a combination of the two. So hopefully then that rock would stay there as the core log just deteriorates. That vegetation should stay in place, and then maintain that embankment.
Yes. Yeah, so they could go to a larger core log rather than going like, 8-inch diameter and fitting it under there. I could go with something a little bit larger, a 12-inch diameter, and by the time I push it under and some of it still sticks out, you give it more of a wedge shape. So a wedge under, and then be a little bit more proud of the embankment. And that way there will be some area to build upon.
Kristen, can you go back, if possible, to the dock plan? That's not it. Nothing personal. Keep going. Keep going. There we go. Just stop right there. As I said at the informational meeting that we had last time, that it was my opinion that the dock, particularly the L component of the dock, would serve as a buffer for wave action for much of the property, the midst of the property, not northern portion, but that's the northern portions where vegetation seems to be extending out into the lake already and doesn't really need any kind of buffering. So between the action of the dock to buffer and moderate and temper the wave action and the mere installation of a choir log under the undercut, I just don't see the need for any kind of hardscape above and beyond that. Again, my opinion, I'll leave it to the rest of you.
Is the dock that you're proposing, it's kind of on piers, right?
Yeah, it's on legs. So
so it's not a floating dock per se that makes direct contact with the water. It's the waves are still going to be flowing somewhat directly underneath, right?
Right. Basically the pontoon boat would be making contact. So as long as the boat's there, but there'll be some waves going through, and the boat's there, there, and through early spring, late fall, it's not going to be, it's only going to be there summer months. So
I think I think if you also look at the location of this property in the dock relative to the lake as a whole, I mean, the site is sort of in a somewhat recessed area of the lake where I wouldn't think that wave action would be rampant.
Not necessarily from boat traffic, but as a private lake, boat traffic waves, I think most of it is it's basically as a northeast direction that the house faces. So there is a northeast wind that would blow that way if there's any storms or anything like that.
Well, I rest my case. I'll personally, we can deal with it at a later date once we have a file number, but I personally, again, will only go so far as acquire log underneath the undercuts, and I really see no need. I think the rest of it is unnecessary and just not called for. Again, my opinion.
So, yeah, you can see the house. Yeah, so that's right there. Yep. So there is a pretty good breeze coming across the lake, so.
All right, anybody else with any further comment at this time? Again, we can't decide absent a file number, so we're going to have to continue this to February 28th at like 6:45 because 471 before us was going to be at 6:35. RDAs don't have file numbers, so we don't have to wait for that one. But so unless anybody has anything else at the moment, let me know now.
In the meantime, I'll reach out to, I think it was Judith Schmitz, who was the DEP person, had emailed me with so I'll reach out to her and try to get the DEP number on some type of priority.
Did she contact you?
She did, because I had sent everything. I dropped everything off as a hard copy. And
Yeah.
because of the new filing system, she emailed me later on that day asking me to put things in to their email address. So she did reach out for that information there. So
I mean, she wanted you to e-file it?
yes. Yeah, besides the hard copy. So I e-filed it also. So
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, she's the person that seems to deal with our area, so.
yep.
Good luck.
Well, I can at least try. So
No, I know. So, all right, anybody else? All right, then I'm going to make a motion that we, with Mr. Boehner's, upon his request, which we all heard, to continue the public hearing till February 28th at 6:45 p.m.
all right.
All those in favor, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Ken O'Connor, aye.
Chris Paconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
Catherine Laramie, aye.
Awesome. Okay, Al.
All right. Thank you, folks.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have a file number. That's all I can say.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too. Take care. Yep.
You too.
Okay. I don't have the agenda in front of me. What was next?
Guests and visitors, seeing none. We have to approve the minutes of January 24th. And do we want to come, it wasn't on the agenda, but do we want to talk about the email about South Ashburnham Road and Roy Brothers? We were getting some emails.
Yeah, okay. All right. Did I send out minutes for?
The last meeting,
Oh, you
yeah,
did?
I think, yeah, you sent a
Yeah,
revised.
I did. I commented on them. You sent them.
Yes, that's right, you did about somebody not being here. Yes, okay, so these are the minutes from January.
24th.
Thank you.
And they look
All right,
good.
then I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 24th.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye, Marshall Dunn's aye.
Kristen Godfrey, I.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Chris Bocconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
All right. Okay, good. We are right up to snuff. Now, did I mention in the minutes something about Roy Brothers? I mean, in the agenda.
It was not in the agenda, but there was an email about, I think you copied us on the emails that have been going back and forth, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Well, all right, let me, and is there anything else that, other than that?
That's it.
Okay,
Well, there was the right of first refusal
Oh.
for Holt Road. I'm not sure if we need to talk about that.
oh, okay, yeah, I'll bring you up to date with that too. Which I think I sent everybody an email about that tonight. All right, Roy Brothers. There's a resident, obviously, living across the street from Roy Brothers, who has, witnessed certain activities which he believed were, not in the best interests of the environment or the community, in terms of trucks being washed adjacent to the Whitman River, and trucks also proximate to the river that were leaking fuel oil, gas, whatever. The picture showed buckets underneath the vehicles. So, and this is the second time that this person has contacted me. So I went down last Friday and took a few photos, which I can send to you, but they're not terribly conclusive. But I gotta believe that the resident saw what he saw, and so I think the best we can do at this point is to send a letter to the powers that be at Roy Brothers saying that, washing your oil-ridden, whatever, trucks immediately adjacent to the river and having all the wash water flow into the river is contrary to the Wetlands Protection Act, and that there are best management practices to deal with such issues, which, if you insist on doing so, would need to be implemented. I think the bigger issue, which is really not a commission concerned, is the fact that there are apparently non-Roy Brothers vehicles, trucks in particular, being stored there, which may or may not be an issue, but are more appropriate to be dealt with by the Board of Selectmen. So anyway, I will, I suppose, just move ahead to at least advise Roy Brothers that, we're aware of the situation, and that, something needs to be done and to, cease and desist whatever they're doing and to make other accommodations.
Where did they used to wash their trucks?
What's that?
Where did they used to wash their trucks?
Probably right there and there. It's probably been going on for God knows how long.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
And I don't think, anybody has, well, first of all, nobody's there when it happens, except for the person across the street, who came forward. And, if you look at the site, there's a kind of a rivulet that goes down the middle of the unpaved parking lot, which meanders over towards, the river. So it's logical that, where that wash water would go. But I looked at the brook and there's no obvious like deposit of sediment right at that location. That's probably because the Whitman River flow just, washes it away. But that to me is irrelevant. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing anyway, giving the residue or that's associated with their vehicles. And, dirt is one thing, but oil and, and gas are something else.
Mhm.
I
So,
think a letter's a good place to start. I mean, it's
well, you
states our
gotta,
case.
you gotta start someplace. And, I'm not gonna, storm into the offices and just, I think they need to be notified that, we're aware and, what they're doing is a violation and, they need to make other accommodations.
Mhm.
Any disagreement one way or the other?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah,
Yep.
and again, I don't know how long this is going on. Could be going on since day one. I don't know. But, again, Roy Brothers is not Roy Brothers anymore. It belongs to some higher corporate structure, headquarters in God knows where. And it's difficult enough just to track down who's in charge of the local situation. But I will endeavor to do so as I've done before. It's not easy, but nonetheless. Okay. So that aside, Holt Road, I sent everybody information that I had just received, which I hope you all got, which is the revised right of first refusal documentation. It's I don't think it's anything earth shattering. I don't think anybody, Ashburnham Conservation Trust, North County Land Trust Commission is going to jump up and down about, the fact that this guy is buying and a butter is buying this lot, which now consists of 2 lots, because the planning board approved an A&R subdivision. I just think that I certainly would not stand in the way of the town not exercising their right of first refusal. The
Can I
way,
ask a-
go ahead.
I had a question. You had said that it looks like the only developable part of the lot is a pretty small piece out of the 2 lots, right?
Yeah,
because of riverfront and priority habitat. It has not yet already sold, right? It's in the process of. The
no,
reason I'm asking is could somebody come forward with a like a lawsuit, like a takings, that they paid good money for 2 buildable lots and now they're being told they can only build 1 house on 1 fraction. I guess that's not our problem.
well, exactly, it's like,
Okay.
well,
Buyer beware.
c'est la vie.
Yeah.
You know, one would hope that, buyer beware, due diligence, all of the
Yeah.
above. And the fact that, you know, they may not have done all of that is not our problem. And I was in contact with the real estate guy for a brief period to share what, I had shared with, Janet and others. But, he subdivided it, and the way he subdivided it is that eastern parcel, lot 2B, between the riverfront area and the rare species habitat, he's got like a postage stamp to do something with.
Mhm.
The other parcel is fine. So if they're planning on doing, 2 buildable lots, again, the lot 2A is not an issue. The lot 2B isn't an issue as long as you stick to a square that's 110 by 110.
And somehow fit a septic system in there.
And that too.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Not our wherewithal, but their map is wrong in there too.
What was it? I missed that, Ann.
Sale price has an extra 0 in it. The sale price has an extra 0.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. So, I mean, I they did what they did. It can't go back. The planning board approved it, to my knowledge. And there you go. I mean, the lot on the right is 2.878 acres, but there's this little square right to the right of, move your arrow down, near to the left, up there, yeah, right, and that's the only developable area, because you've got, under the riverfront area regulations, you've got to leave a 100-foot area of no impact between, in other words, the inner riparian zone shouldn't be breached, whatever. And so, it's just a highly restricted area.
So should we expect this to come back around, I guess? Like, is someone gonna show up with a plan to develop these? Like in a, I don't know, 6 months or more? Is that kind of what we're thinking is gonna happen here?
They may, and it's like, and I've already, at least on a preliminary basis, mapped it out. And, basically the rare species habitat is a 100-foot buffer from the GIS wetlands. Of course, if you were to actually delineate said wetlands and then draw a 100-foot buffer, you may get a different boundary. But if the Natural Heritage Program is saying, well, it's 100 foot from the wetlands, wherever the wetlands may be, well, then that's something they would have to define. So, I mean, that may even constrain the site even more based on the final analysis, but I mean, you know, the entire parcel to be is basically within the riverfront area. And the vast majority of it is in rare species habitat. So you don't have a lot to work with. But
I think they
none-
make tents that size.
what's that?
I think they make tents that size.
Well, you know, you could even put up a big tent. In fact, I've got a 15-person tent that they could. But that's again, that's not the commission's issue. I'm just bringing it to your attention, and we may see this in the future, and we'll deal with it, you know, accordingly.
Yep.
That's all. But I don't think it's anything that, you know, we, the commission, really need to deal with until the time comes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the agenda that I failed to
That's it.
acknowledge? Okay. Awesome. Well, in that case, unless anybody has anything else,
Oh, so actually, I have two things. One is we apparently have a new member.
we do have a new member, Catherine Laramie. There she is.
Hello.
At last, we get to see you.
Yeah, sort of.
We did miss you at the last one, but glad to have you with us. We are now a 6-member commission, which is the first in, I can't tell you how. We are by municipal bylaw, a 7-member commission. I'm not sure I'll live to ever see that day, but it's good to see that we are making progress.
Does everybody get those? Does everybody get those emails from the MACC that talk about their conference, their spring conference?
I don't know. You're right, though. I will reiterate that, and I know Catherine's stance on this, but the Concom does have like $1,500 of funds for reimbursement of people who want to attend the MACC, whether it's a fall or spring, doesn't matter. Conferences. Unfortunately, the way, you know, municipal government works, you have to pay it and then get reimbursed by submitting a voucher. But you will get reimbursed. And because I specifically asked, you know, the town, Julie, the town treasurer, to update me on the status of our accounts, and she, you know, reminded me that we had X dollars allocated for that. So, you know, anybody wants to go, they should go. And
I was just particularly thinking for if people are relatively new, and I know it took me years to just try to figure out what was happening at these meetings. And the MACC training has some basic modules to explain like how the Wetlands Protection Act works, the Riverfront Act.
And Kristen went through some of those, right?
Yeah, I did there's a whole fundamentals
Right.
unit that you can do that where you get a certificate. And I don't know if that's my computer making that horrible screeching noise, but it's it is worth it just to kind of get an idea about what's going on.
So, you know, if you want to and can, then, you know, I certainly encourage it. So it's up to you, but, but never fear, the commission will reimburse whatever expenses, for registration and classes that you may encounter. We have the money.
The other thing I had wanted to ask about is our conservation agent status.
Yes. Our town administrator, based on input from me, has drafted a advertisement, job posting notice, which I believe was brought to the select board a week ago or so. And so I expect that any day now, but thank you for asking, because I will contact him tomorrow about the status. It's just about ready to be aired. So it will be in the Mass Municipal wherever. And then he'll give it to me and I'll post it on the Association of Mass Wetland Scientists and MACC, so that, hopefully we can, get as many applicants as possible. So it's close. Because again, I told him, and, as you all know, that as of the end of the fiscal year, I will be retiring. And that I wanted to have somebody in place, way before that happened, so that we could adapt him or her to, the goings on that be. So anyway, it is moving forward, and I hope it will happen soon.
Good to hear.
I think so. I mean, it's and it's being advertised, again, not just as a conservation agent, but as a town planner too, so that some days there will be more planning than conservation, and vice versa, but that's just the way it goes. But it's something we've needed for, Chris, 10 years, 10 plus years.
We had a full-time conservation agent until 2009. It was
Right.
spring of 2009, I remember, when they made the budget cuts and made that position 2 days a week.
Right.
So
Yeah.
for a brief period, we had a full-time agent for about 3 years or so. It was really nice.
Well, again, what a difference a decade makes.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have someone on board within the next 45, 60 days. And there's no question that there's more than enough to support between the Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, Conservation Commission to, keep this person busy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more will be accomplished for the town if we have someone, a focal point to deal with all this stuff. Because right now it's just, I don't think anybody really knows what the other person's doing. And if they do, it's just by accident. So. Okay. Anything else? All right, February 28th, next meeting. I'll be here. Hopefully everyone else will be available, but let me know if you're not.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn, it being, what, 7:46, 7:45.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, hi.
Chris Paconi, aye.
And O'Connor, aye.
Andrew Henderson, I.
Catherine Laramie, I.
Time for dinner.
So Catherine, aren't you just thrilled that you joined this illustrious group after all of this?
Yeah. Some things never change, though.
No need to respond. You can think on that. All right, folks. See you next time. Thanks a
Good night.
lot. All right. Good night.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
You too. Everybody else. Yep.